C10 Talk, retro release. Sometimes you got to take it back. Today, we're going all the way back. Chevy Only Dino, episode 1, coming at you.
What we're going to do right here is go back. Way back. Back into time.
Damn, son. All right. What up, C10 Nation? Coming at you. How about a retro release? Yeah, I haven't done this before, but what we're going to do today is I'm going to re-release the first episode when I went over and interviewed Dino. The first one, I went over to a shop, and if you haven't heard the story, it's funny, embarrassing, and just shows you the craziness at the beginning. But I go over to the shop and take the laptop, take the mic, put the mic down, have the recorder, and the laptop essentially went to sleep. Well, because the mic was powered by the laptop, I didn't realize that the mic had shut off. So I'm looking at my recorder and I see that it's on, and I don't really pay attention that there's nothing recording. The number is still ticking away. I record. I think it was a phenomenal interview, and go home. Dude, I was mortified. Absolutely mortified. But call Dino. Well, dude, my God, I was so frustrated. I was so mad. I was so embarrassed. And he's like, dude, Cat, come on back, man. Let's do it. So I went back, and here you go. This is it. Now, the only thing, it went good, and I think the interview still turned out really good, but some of that spontaneity wasn't quite there, like it was originally. We cracked a few beers this time because it was a little bit later, went back to the shop, and why re-release this today? Well, 6 years exactly today that I went and recorded it. It looks, per my numbers, that it was dropped on October 14th. So it's not quite 6 years, but you get it. It's 6 years old. And it's funny to hear kind of just, how we've come along for 6 years. To think that this was right before the 4th Get Down. And now we're talking about the 10th annual Dino's Chevy Only, the quintessential, the Get Down. I mean, it's crazy to look back. That's one thing that I love about the pod. I dig the part where we get to go back. We get to capture this history. We get to interview people like Paul Hitch and everybody in our scene and look back over that time. And to have these episodes, of course I save them. And, maybe every now and then we'll re-release one because it's kind of fun to look back and see where you've come from. So, hope you guys enjoy this first time I've ever done this, a re-release of our first episode. Again, 6 years ago today, I recorded it, recorded it twice, really. So I hope you guys dig it. Just released yesterday. Obviously, the 10th annual Get Down is a go. They got their permits signed. That's what they were waiting for. Permits are signed, ready to rock, ready to roll. November 13th and 14th, it is at Westgate, same place it was last year. For those of you that were able to make it out, it is in the same spot. The difference this year will be hotels. The Arizona Cardinals, if you remember, the Cardinals Stadium is right in that area, and they play the Bills on Sunday. So those hotels are very pricey, and a lot of those rooms are booked. So try to maybe get in an outlying area. I don't think there's a lot of rooms available at the Renaissance, and that's kind of the main hotel. You can look at I would say get a VRBO. Those may be even, a little high. I don't know how well the Bills travel. That's the thing, right? If the Bills travel well, meaning they're fans, then, things go up. VRBOs, hotels, rentals, everything in the area. So I would encourage you to get your rooms booked now and secured so that you have that locked down. All right, November 13th and 14th, the 10th annual, first time for a 2-day event, Dino Chevy Only Get Down. And I don't even know how that's going to work out. I don't have all those specifics yet. So just know you need to get your butt here and get ready for a great time. Before we head out to the Get Down, we're going to head to North Carolina, October 24th, Oakboro, North Carolina, the second C10 Fall Revival. And that's kind of one of those things where you look back and you're like, so many shows have popped up. Look at the shows in 6 years, the difference from when we first interviewed Dino and today. so many shows that we have now and how the community has grown and expanded, and what a journey and what a great time we've had. So, all right, I'm going to quit yapping and get you guys over to the first retro release, my interview with Dino 6 years ago. Have a great week, guys. Stay out of trouble. Do what you do. And please leave us a review. Late.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 Truck podcast. Here's your host, Ronnie Welch.
All right. First builder show. I'm so excited to get this thing going. Excited to have this builder on board. You guys know him by quite a few different names, probably, from Dino to Dino63 on the forum, Mr. Chevy Only, the godfather of C10s, Mr. 60 to 66, or like I like to call him, Mr. Q. That's Mr. Quintessential for the rest of you, and we'll get into that today.
Nice.
But we're excited to have this guy on board. Not only is he a leading C10 builder, built just some killer rides, but really he's a successful business owner. He's a family man, and he's a pillar in the C10 community, and that's what we really just love, that part, the C10 community. Again, we're stoked to have him here and get to know him a little bit better today. So I brought Dino something today. We're gonna give him a little something. Dino has mentioned to me a couple different times that as a kid he didn't have a lot of socks, so I brought him some socks. I'll take a picture of these socks and put them whether it's on Instagram or on the Facebook page, on the website, and we'll see what Dino's got to say about these really unique socks.
Hey, thanks a lot, Ronnie. That was quite the intro, and I appreciate it. And by the way, these socks are bedazzling. These are amazing, and yeah, there's a sock story behind that. As a kid, you know, I'm from an Italian family, you know, that came from Italy. My parents came over, and we grew up like everybody else did in that generation. Maybe we didn't have as much, but we didn't know that. We thought we had a ton, but growing up, I never had socks. It was one of those things that I had a brother that had a big old foot, and every time I tried to steal his socks, you know, it was like, you know, he had a size 13, I think, when he was 6 or something, but so you can never wear his socks. But socks were one of those things I always coveted. It sounds weird, but I appreciate these socks. I love socks.
I hope you rock. I think you're gonna have to rock those at the get down.
Yeah, these are very dope socks. Yeah, I dig.
Do you feel like because of that upbringing, do you feel like that? You know, I feel like you're a very generous person. You've always been generous to me. The people I know in the community feel the same way. Do you feel like that upbringing possibly is part of why you are so generous?
Honestly, I think that being humble and that part of it and generosity is something that I've gotten a lot of in my life, and I think that that's probably has a lot to do with it. Definitely the Italian culture. You can't say that all 100%, but yeah, it's, you know, we always like to eat together and to share. So yeah, I think that's important.
I think you're known for that. I do. I think I can really only talk just for me and the people that I hang out with, but you've always been more than generous. You know, obviously even just doing this today, spending the time, you're taking the time out of your busy day, and you're known as a very generous person. So I kind of think that, you know, that's probably part of it. It's just your ability to reference back to growing up and what you had and what you have now and what you've worked for. So you talked a little bit about being, you know, from an Italian family. One thing I wanted to talk about a little bit today was when I first met not only you, but your family, your wife and your kids, and it was at a truck show. Do you feel like you're able to balance, or do you look at the C10 community, the trucks, your work, your family, your business? Do you look at that as one big circle, or do you try to keep it separate?
Well, you know, I honestly tell you the truth, family is number one for me. And like so many people, it's really important. And that's one of the things that I've embraced with the C10 guys is that, you know, I've been in a lot of different cars. Obviously, the trucks are what I love. But the community of guys that have now rallied around me and other guys that, like yourself, are just such quality guys. And we're a lot of family-oriented guys. Not everybody has a family, but still some real genuine guys. But, yeah, my family, I'm lucky because my family also works for me. So, and I shouldn't say works for me, works with us. I try to use that term. And it extends, you know, I have my nephews working for me. My children and my wife works a little part-time for me. So some days I'm super blessed and it's amazing. And some days it's OCC chopper. It's just part of the deal, but we're passionate people. And I am lucky to have my kids and my wife and even my nephews, even kids now. I call my nephews, you know, guys like, you know, Bro, you know, he works with us. And I'm super glad to have him. You know, we got to see Henry today, and man, the little guy's getting big, and who knows, maybe we're all going to get together and build a truck with him. But you got guys like Eddie, Double X, and his son, Little Ed, these kids are just, I mean, you just enjoy to see these guys and see them grow up. You know, I enjoy all that. I really do.
Yeah, and I think that's good that you talk about the kids, and it's neat that not only do you incorporate your family, but again, we think that the trucks are cool, but it's the community, and it's not just separating my family from the community. I'm bringing my family into this community, and it's such a good group. And, you know, we're here at Dino's shop where he has his office, and to say that he has it separate, I guess I kind of know the answer. When you walk in his office, it's C10 Chevy trucks, Chevy only to the max. And I'll take some pictures to try to show that, but it's a unique place. It's probably one of the coolest offices that I've ever been in, and I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be invited in, and I'm going to do my best to really bring this to you and bring Dino to you as well. So right out of the gate, you talked about your family. Who would you say, whether it's trucks, whether it's life, whether it's family, whatever it is, who's your biggest influence?
You know, I was blessed. I had a real good father, and he wasn't a truck guy, which is, he was more of a carpenter guy. But, I've had a guy in my life I worked for several years. I worked for him for about 16 years. His name was Paul Zeller. And even though he's a Ford guy, we looked past all that. Paul was a guy, a mentor. Ronnie, he's one of those kind of guys that, makes you want to be a better man. And that to me, I guess, sums it up. I mean, Paul was a guy who still to this day, I talk to him. He's still my sounding board. He's a guy who keeps me balanced. And, he's a guy that I hold in great esteem. He's just a good man, and he can fix anything. Paul had the kind of technology, and still does, that he could take a V8 and cut it in half and make a 4-cylinder out of it. I mean, he just was so smart and just an amazing dude. For me, I like the guys of that generation. Those guys I loved, I still love those guys. They were guys who worked with their hands and were smart, just fixed things. I dig that. Cool.
He obviously made a big impression on you. I kind of remember I think it's your Nova, that on your plate it says, "Thanks, PZ." And obviously that individual made a big impression on you. Now, you're still involved, you still see him, you still have a good relationship with him.
And that PZ, that's Paul Zeller, and what that was I bought that Nova. He said, "Oh man, I'd like to build one of those Novas one of these days." And so he ended up getting the car off me or something like that. And he ended up building the car. And then I got back involved, and we built the car. He just did this amazing job. And then I got the car back. I had to have the car back from him because this is a legacy to me. A car would never leave. And it's an amazing, tribute to how well the guy, his work was just amazing. And it's still that Nova. That's why I put that on there. Thanks, PZ, because, I finished the car off, but his influence is all over, and it's awesome.
Cool. Kind of a neat tribute as well.
Yeah, man.
You take him out on Father's Day and take him for a cruise, scare the crap out of him?
I'd like to, but I don't think he drives. He won't drive in Chevys, but it's okay. I can't say anything bad about that.
Even though he's a Ford guy.
We try to style him up.
Dino, I'm sure he's got Chevy only stickers posted or pasted all over his Ford cars and trucks to this day. We should mail him some stickers. You talk about the Nova. That's a Chevy car. What got you into the truck scene?
I'm in my 50s, and so as a young dude growing up in that generation in the 70s, we got to get away with a lot more than the kids got to get away with now. We got to drive cars early, and things were a lot more lenient then. So I went to work at a gas station. I was about probably 12 or 13 years old, like most kids my age. They had a shop truck there that was a 63 pickup, and it was a short bed truck. And, man, I absolutely fell in love with the truck. I mean, it was an old truck. They used it for service. It was dirty, but I used to keep that truck super clean. And it was the first truck I drove. And from then on in, I just fell in love with the 60 trucks. Ever since then, early 13s, 14s, whatever it was, I've never not had one of those trucks. And to this day, it'd be neat to have that truck, wherever it was at. But it was a 63, and, man, I loved it. It was 3 on the tree, and, man, I just loved that truck.
So did you ever try to buy it, or?
No, I went in and I moved on, like most kids. I worked at that gas station for probably 4 or 5 years, and people who aren't familiar with Phoenix, Central was big in my day. We cruised Central. It was huge. It was a monster, and it was more fun than a can of monkeys. I mean, it was such a good time. And at that time there was gas stations every corner. So as young guys, we all just worked at gas stations. At least I did. And so I just moved from, after a couple of years, they ended up selling, I was there about 5 or 6 years, they sold the gas station. I moved on to I went from Mobil to Chevron, but stayed on Central. But it was a really cool time because at that time they'd cruise, and then, you could leave your cool car out front and you'd be that cool guy. So it was a good time. It was a super good time.
You kind of, you really loved this 63. That probably made that impression for you to really like the body lines or you just had good memories of driving the 63. What was your next vehicle? How did you get into? Did you stay in the 60 to 66 caliber?
Yeah, I always
range?
had. I picked up a 62 step side. It was one of those things at the time that, those trucks were cheap then. You could buy a truck super cheap and it wasn't a big deal. And so, lowering those trucks was easy. Torsion bars. We lowered them so low at the time that you would scrape the trucks, but we didn't know, maybe we were going to be trendy and, shoot sparks out of cars. But, that was just cool at that time to do that. So get as low as you could. But those trucks just stuck with me. And from there, I just always loved them. And it was the first truck I ever taught my wife how to drive a stick in, too. She was digging it. And she had never really. So
you guys were scraping before scraping was cool, or what?
Yeah,
just cruising down Central.
Yeah, I guess we didn't know we were cool at that time.
Did you teach her how to drive that 3 on the tree?
That one was a stick on the ground. It was a 4-speed truck, and it was crazy. She just picked it up, and
It's funny. The first time I ever drove a 3 on the tree, I remember my football coach coming out and he told me to move his old truck, and I didn't know. I'm in high school. I never seen a 3 on a tree in my life. I think I grind every gear in that thing.
Oh, yeah, man.
And a lot of people, even to this day, everybody should learn how to drive a 3 on the tree. If you're into old trucks, find a 3 on the tree, whether it's your buddies or you just want to test drive it and learn how to play around with a 3 on the tree, because it's a unique beast.
It definitely reminisce, that's for sure, yeah.
Well, how did Chevy Only come about?
I was really getting into, Chevy trucks. I had a lot of Novas then, too. I was a big guy on Novas. Loved Novas. Second love. Loved Volkswagens, too. Did a lot of Volkswagens. But so I got a little house in Central Phoenix, and it's a perfect scenario for dudes. And a little house in a big garage that I built in the backyard, and I had lots of space for trucks. So I've always had a lot of cars. I remember being in my backyard and working on some cars and thought, God, man, I got all these trucks. And there was a guy that had Chevy 2 only. And I remember making a sticker and taking the Chevy only out, taking the 2 out of it, making a Chevy only. I posted them up on my cars. I just put them on my cars, and people would always ask me, "What's this Chevy only?" I said, "Well, it's my car club." And they, well, who's in it? It was just me, and it was kind of a joke, and it was that way for 2, 3, 4, 5 years or something like that they did it, and people would request those stickers, and man, I used to give them out and send them out and stuff like that, and we had some fun with it where. I've sent stickers out and had them on all kinds of stuff. I got one on a helicopter in Iraq. A guy sent me a picture of it, and I thought that was real cool. I had a friend come in from Canada one time, a guy I met, real cool dude. He came in, and I kind of swagged him up when he came in. He was in and didn't realize at the time what he did. We just chatted a little bit, and he sent me a real cool picture of him in an F-18. I guess he's a pilot for the Canadian Air Force, and he logoed up the jet bonnet, and then there's a picture of it, and that's it right over there. And I wish you guys could see it, but it's one of the coolest pictures ever. And he put my logo on the bonnet, of probably $1 billion plane or whatever it is. And it's got another jet right next to it. It's such a dope picture.
Well, he's pointing right over to it, and it's going to be, I think it'd be a tough one to beat, but I'll take a picture of it. I'll post it up, but it is exactly what Dino explained. It's a Chevy only sticker on a F-18 with another jet in the background while they're flying. So I think Dino would be up to trying to beat that, but that's going to be a tough one. So obviously the Chevy only culture has, from my exposure, the swag, everything about it has really taken off, and you kind of started that. It's obviously unique. And one of the things that I think is really cool, I like to give Dino a hard time, because I had to look this word up, but Dino was involved with the Chevy 100, which was the 100-year anniversary of Chevrolet. He was involved. Somehow you got involved, and I remember you saying on the video, it's a quintessential gotta have. And
yeah,
that was also on one of the shirts that he had for his Get Down party, which we're gonna talk about the Get Down. But I had to look it up. So here's quintessential. Representing the most perfect or typical example of quality or class. So it's a quintessential tattoo. It's the Chevy only tattoo. How did you get involved with the Chevy 100? What was the story behind that?
We, as a crew, with all these guys that are in our set, Sam's and the Yeezys and these guys, Rob, they're all tricksters. These guys, I thought they were going to try to punk me. So, everybody knows I'm this big GM Chevy guy. And so a lady called me out of the blue and said she saw my tattoo on the internet and the Chevy only one I have underneath my bicep. And she said, we'd really like to get guys like you involved with this. And I was kind of like, yeah, okay, Sam put you up to this. I thought for real that's what was going to happen. Well, as it progressed, they said they were going to come in. They were doing a documentary. Long story short, they were going to call us in a few months, and we were going to meet at a park at maybe do some filming about some of the stuff that I'm into. So I thought I just went along with it because I thought it was baloney. But so as it got closer that week, she called me and said, hey, we're going to meet at a park at 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. And I was like, man, I like cars. I don't like them that much. I was like, 7 in the morning. You got to be nuts, lady. So no big deal. And my wife was kind of hawking me like, who's this chick he keeps calling you? And I'm like, they're just playing a joke on me. But, I'm supposed to be in some kind of movie thing. And she always thinks that, that's, oh, Dino, so we laugh about it a little bit. So sure enough, that Sunday morning, we're sitting on the couch and I'm eating some Cheerios and just kicking back. And I get a phone call and it's this lady, hey, where are you at? We're at this park. You got to be here. And I said, oh, man, I thought, all right, let's see what this is all about. Okay, maybe Sam and those guys have got me punked. And so I cruised out there, and sure enough, man, here's a full set, full crew and all this stuff. And I thought, holy cow. So I came bumping into my intro music, which is Brick House, or sometimes I bump the Lowrider, just depends on which one. And I came in, I laid the truck out and shot some sparks, just about scared everybody to death. Just mobbed in there, and it was really, really cool. The people were super nice, and it was legit. So as they were, most people know I can yap more. I can really yap a lot. So, the lady was like, so tell me, I've never seen this crew cab before. What is this? And I said, well, as a C10 guy, this is the quintessential got to have it. Man, I don't even know where that came from. My wife looked at me. I was like, I don't know. I used to start spewing stuff out. Half the time, I don't remember half the time what I said, but then, of course, Sam and those guys picked it up. So when they made the shirts that year, they put it on there, and we love laughing. We enjoy that. That's one of the things we do a lot, man. We like to chop it up and cap on each other, and it was all fun, man. And for me, it was a golden day. I was pretty stoked to get a chance to make that. I was on the real small segment of it, but it got to be on that. And for some reason, I did sound like a Canadian, Dell. I don't know. I have no idea why. Maybe because I hung out with you a little bit. But
hanging out with too much Dell, I guess.
Yeah, it's funny.
Talked a little bit about it. If you guys get a chance, it's just pull up. I think it's on YouTube. Just pull up Chevy 100, and you'll see it. It's a great episode. I think it was on A&E or the History Channel or something like that. Velocity. Yeah. So it's on there. They probably run it every now and then, but you could probably pull it up on YouTube. And another thing that Dino talked about was some of these guys here in Phoenix in the C10 group here. He's being a little lighthearted. If you get a little scratch, there's blood in the water, and they put it on pretty thick. So I've been on both ends of that, but he's nailed it. The quintessential made the T-shirt for the Get Down. I literally, whether it was the 100 video or whether it was the T-shirt, I was like, what is the quintessential? And I had to broaden my horizons a little bit and check it out. So again, these guys are tough love. If you mess up, they're going to be all over you. There's just a little bit of pressure on me and Dino on this first interview because we know they're going to listen to it and pick us apart. So let's see. Next thing, you talked a little bit, you rolled out the crew. I guess my thing is you talked about cars. You talked about some of the different trucks that you had. You talked about your crew cab and being involved with the Chevy 100. What draws you back, and how are you? I feel like primarily you stayed with the trucks. You like Volkswagens. You like the trucks. You like the cars. Why do you always come back to the trucks, and what is it about the trucks that has really taken a hold of you?
Yeah, and I would say, honestly, Ronnie, I love all cars, no kidding, but the truck thing has just really held a passion for me, and honestly, it's something that I don't want to say that I've challenged myself, but I do like coming up with different concepts. I don't ever, it sounds, I don't know if that sounds a little big head when I say I don't build cars for people. I build cars for myself, and I like what I like. And so I like trends, and I like to see guys that are trendy, and sometimes I do follow some of those things, not to say that I'm a trendsetter, and that by no means that's the case, but I like what I like. Who would have thought that You could build a Pro Street truck and people would go bananas over it. Myself personally, I love it. It's my favorite truck. I always wanted to have a big tire car, a big tire truck, and I built one. And, Dell was an inspiration for that. I had already had some Pro Street cars, never had a Pro Street truck, and Dell popped out this one picture back in the day. He had some real short shorts on, and he had this real cool picture of his Pro Street truck. From then on, as I'm building a Pro Street truck, and it was fun for me because Dell got to drive it one year for Good Guys. He came out, and he was in between projects or something, and he came out. I never thought I was going to get the truck back, honestly, and there's pictures of him and the videos of him just having a good time, blowing the wheels off the truck and just having a good time with it. But the truck thing for me, I like different years. I definitely like the 60 to 66. It's my favorite. For a lot of reasons, I think the lines are super, bitchin', but I like square body trucks. The 67 to 72 truck for me was kind of like the 32 Ford car. It was, not to say that they're overdone. I love those trucks, but it's a big ticket truck to build. It's like a 53 Ford. There's so many nice ones, and guys are way over the top that it just was one of those trucks that for me, I always liked the 60 trucks, and those trucks were, at that time, weren't desirable, and so you could get them cheaper. And not that I was being cheap, but I could get more of them. So I was pretty stoked that I could have one of those trucks, but I could have two or three. And then the trucks became kind of hot weather. I had some influence on that. Dell definitely had some influence on that. And the trucks got real, real hot. And now me and you had mentioned that once before. We had talked about one on the C10 forum. They didn't even have a section for the 60 to 6 trucks. We were just stepchild. We were just down below, It was always the 53s to 59 trucks that was real popular with a different generation of guys, mostly older guys that build different trucks. And the 67 to 72 were more of your, I call it like the 32 street rod guys that would build a higher budget truck. And basically the 60 to 66 trucks were just overlooked. So I was lucky enough to get a lot of those, and now they've become really hot. And
well, I kind of think that you're right. One thing that I've got to mention, because every time Dino talks about Dell or Delmo, we have a full-size cutout of Dell, and it's right over here to my right and to Dino's left. So it's like Dell, whether you realize it or not, you're in the room with us, and we can constantly look over. I'll put a picture of this as well, but it's pretty much a kind of a life-size picture of Dell in the room with us. So we'll have to get a little backstory on this with Dino. But you talked about it, and I think I'm a 67 to 72 guy. I feel like that's always been my passion, and you guys, there's a group of you guys who have taken, and you are at the forefront of it, taking these 60 to 66s and just making them killer. The lines have come out, and now whether it's something that I think Adele's 65 or Sam's 65, and some of the big windows that he's, the Delmo number 3 really, that he's put together. And the first time I met Dino was, I'll never forget being down in the lawn at Good Guys at Westworld in Scottsdale. Here comes this just like this dude and this panel, this black panel that hopefully you guys have seen Dino's 63 black panel, and it's got Dino's appliance on the side, and he is just, the war song of Lowrider is going to the max. And I'm pretty sure your green short bed, which was just a single cab, because then you came out with your crew cab. But so somebody, obviously Dino wasn't driving them both.
My nephew was driving it.
Yeah, and I remember just seeing both those, and I can't even remember if I had a camera phone at the time, but my jaw hit the ground. The green truck alone was second to none at the time. So between Dell and the 65 that he put together, and I felt like he put that thing together in like a week's time. It was just crazy. And what he did with that truck, and obviously Sam got a hold of it. You had your green truck. You have your panel. I can't wait to talk to you about the panel, because I think you've had that thing for a long time. Those are game changers. And now the level has just continued to get, the ladder is going higher and higher and higher, and these trucks are just amazing. And Mike Losh from Slosh Tubs, he just got a hold of a big window. He's going to put something together. So he's one of those guys that can build some. Obviously, we've seen some SEMA stuff that he's put together.
He's come down to the dark side with us. Thanks, Mike.
That's right. The Fast and Loud guys just to put together a 65. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but so what do you think? I mean, you have to know you're part of that. You have to know that you put those trucks. Not just you, but. Sure. Obviously, you loved that you could get a hold of them more easily than the 67 to 72s.
That's true, but the 60 trucks, for some reason, the grills and everything about those trucks just always struck me as I just always liked the 60 trucks, and that was always one of those things. And of course, guys like Dell, who came in, Dell was pretty high-end hot rod builder in Canada. I mean, a big-time guy, been on all kinds of stuff, overhauling, and a guy who we like to use the name Game Changer. Dell came in as probably the most down-to-earth, super nice guy I ever met, which we're blessed to have lots of those same guys in there. And Dell kind of made me step up my game a little bit too on the way he built cars. I was inspired by him, just like guys like Eric Steiny and Superfly. I mean, these are guys who also made me step up my game and see. I've always been a guy who likes simplistic and clean, and I like minimalistic stuff, but with more detail. And Keith from Indability.
Would you say that? Obviously, you talked a little bit about Paul being your life influence. Do you think that Dell and Eric and Indability, these guys, are they? Who's your truck influence? Who do you look to when you're getting ready to build a truck, or when you're looking at the style of different builders? What would you say is your influence to building these trucks?
But I mean, Dell is one. Obviously there's some up and comers. There's Blake, that's Stoner Speed. His shop, that's a up and coming guy who I'm real stoked. I'm going to get a chance to meet him coming up.
Is he coming out to the show?
Yeah, he's coming out to the party. We're going to get a chance to meet Blake. And there's David Neal, who built that iconic yellow truck.
Oh, my God, that guy.
And that's Mr. Metal, a.k.a. for fabrication. I mean, he's just one of those kind of guys. But, of course, you talk to Keith, Indability. And these are guys who, honestly, of course, Superfly, nobody even knows that. When you look at a 67 to 72, you talk about the ultimate game changer and a humble guy. Just he's built so many nice trucks, and these guys have all motivated me to step up my game to say, you know what, I want to build the truck at a different level. And then instead of having an animosity towards the guy who built something nicer, it's pushed us all to kind of do just a little bit nicer work and share this information. That's one of the things that's so nice about our community of guys, whether they're in Michigan or they're here. We all like to share the information. It's kind of funny in the bug world. They don't do that. Oh, hey, man, where'd you get that part? Oh, everything's a secret. No, the C10 thing, we're all willing to help out each other. There's just, it's just that part of it, like I said, with Dell. Can't say enough about Dell. We probably talk a lot more in these guys that have been big influences on me.
So would you say that your relationship with Dell, how did that come to fruition?
It's crazy. I saw Dell on the truck forum. Didn't really know who Delmo was, and it kind of struck me funny. The name was kind of usual. I popped on the truck site and I watched it. I was like, not to say anything derogatory, but there were so many guys who take these beautiful trucks apart and then they get busy and life changes and they don't put them together. So I see this pretty cool 65 truck. It's tan, not super desirable for most guys until Dell made that hot. But it blows his truck apart, and I was like, well, there's another one for the graveyards, and didn't really pay much attention to it. So I snapped on it a little bit later, and then I can see that the knowledge he has and his sense of how he builds things, the truck, you could see that he was a truck builder. And I was so inspired by just the way he took the frame apart and put it back together and the timely amount and the speed. And then his vision. He's got good style. Dell is a guy, and that's something that's hard. Cool is cool, and it's hard to, style is, definitely style is one of those things that is hard to get, and some guys just have it and some guys don't.
You talked a little bit about how, and I've had this happen where it's the easiest thing to do is take a truck apart. It's putting it back together that is the challenge, really, because then you're getting into not only the parts and life gets in the way.
Yeah.
The time that I've known you, you've had at times 3 different projects going. How do you feel like you can manage not only your family, your business, this whole community, and still be able to put out these trucks?
I gotta tell you honestly, I like chaos, but I try to control it. I like overwhelm. I like lots to do. My day's filled. I like to I like to think about things, and then I'm a task guy. That's the same way when I started business. I like about task. I like a completion, which makes me feel good. Like, nothing's cooler than that first drive of a truck that's never been driven in 13 years, and you put it together, and now you're driving it, that first drive. So there's some really cool benefits of some of that stuff. You know, life does get in the way. I'm lucky that my kids are older now, so I don't have as much responsibility on some of that part of it. So I am lucky that, and I have a lot of great guys who support me and help. I don't do all the own work. I've used this word a lot. I'm a backyard ham and egger. I mostly do 90% of the work at my house. I had a guy that worked with me, Joe, and he worked with me a lot and did a ton of the work on my trucks, and a super, super good, talented kid. And then I use guys, I've been lucky to use guys like Willie at WCD Fabrication. He's done a lot of chassis work for me. And so I'm lucky that these guys are willing to take on these visions that I have, and then I like completion. So, you know, they get after it, and we can get a bunch of stuff done.
Because if I remember right, at one point you had that C50 going, you had your orange bourbon going, and I think you might even had your dually going. Your first dually.
Well, Joe mainly worked at my house, and he's over working with Eddie Money right now. Joe will kind of be like a mobile guy, so I have a pretty good shop at the house. Willie actually did, at that time I had my 67 C50, which is one of my favorite trucks. I bought that as kind of a side project pretty cheap. I had a vision. I wanted to make a top kick out of it. Willie actually had that there. We were building the Pro Street truck at my house at the same time, and we were just getting ready to kind of start a dually project kind of thing.
Where does the orange bourbon come in? Because I remember that thing.
Yeah,
I feel like it was on the lay low, on the down low, and then all of a sudden it was up. I'll never forget the sound system you had in that thing, because that thing was, you talk about a guy being in your 50s, and I think it's funny because to me, that was like a high school kid's, you know, that was his life savings in that thing.
Well, bro, he always said, hey, the 80s called, they want their stereo box back. So it was really funny that I had this vision of this Suburban that I wanted, and I had the style that I was going to do with some wire wheels, and I was going to go over the top with a big stereo in it. And I did. I put 612s in it and a bunch of power and a bunch of batteries, and it was so fun, you know, that I would tune that bad boy up, and you know, my neighbor would come out and say I was shaking her dishes in her house and stuff. But it was just a great deal of fun. The Suburban kind of came up, and it kind of didn't stay very long. And, you know, I really didn't get a chance to enjoy it. It was kind of one of those things that, you know, people always ask me, how do you part with some of these cars and stuff like that? And to me, it's not too much of a stretch. You know, I've built lots of stuff, literally have driven it maybe 300 or 400 miles or 500 miles. And then it's time for somebody else to enjoy it. So sometimes it's not really the completion of something. It's the task to get there that really motivates me. And sometimes cars have it, and sometimes they don't. And I know it sounds unusual, but I was lucky enough that a guy came over one time, was interested enough, and bought 3 of my trucks at one time. That's when I sold the crew cab, the orange Suburban, and the big red truck to a guy named Craig. And he's bought quite a few of my cars. And
he's a local guy?
Yeah, local guy. He has a place called the Rusty Ranch. A cool guy. He's from back east, and he's good friends with a guy named Boris, which was another an amazing guy who built
street machinery.
Street machinery, yeah, good dude, super knowledgeable guy. If anybody knows, if you're into cars, you know Boris. You know, he's just an amazing dude at the same time. But yeah, I was lucky. The Suburban didn't stay around long, and it was kind of unusual that people kind of said, "Wow, she didn't really keep that very long." And I was like, "Yeah, it just happens."
Yeah, it's one thing we're doing is we're kind of looking out. That's what's so cool about Dino's office is we could talk about every one of these vehicles literally, and we can look up, and there's either an article or a picture or even a rendering of these vehicles. So we're looking over at this ranch, and you've got this picture of the Bourbon, the green 4-door Crew, and then the big 67 C50, which was just a really unique truck. That's kind of like, I give you a hard time about the stereo on the Bourbon, but that's kind of one of those things where when you're a kid and you're playing with your stompers or you're watching monster trucks, that was one that you built. Where is that truck now? Is it local, or are they all gone? Or
no, they went. The big red truck actually went through Barrett and went to Alaska. And the guy, last I heard, just really loves it. It's at a restaurant, and the guy really loves it. It's a big deal out there. I had a lot of fun in that truck. It was one that I got away. I probably shouldn't have sold that one, but it was one of those things. The Suburban left from here to Florida. Same guy bought both trucks, and then from Florida, for some reason, my trucks seem to be pretty popular in Kentucky. So I've sold a bunch of trucks that went to Kentucky. I sold a 51 truck I sold, and some of those trucks ended up in Kentucky. So that part of it, I don't know exactly what ever happened to the Suburban after that. I know then the green truck left from back east or back Midwest, and then now it's back somewhere, maybe Colorado, Oregon. The guy's put an LS motor in it. Another guy owns it. It was kind of tragic. The guy who bought it from the guy in Florida, the guy who owned it then had passed away, and then they had ended up selling it to another guy, and so
Wow.
it was kind of tragic. But.
Yeah, I never really thought about it, but you've built so many trucks that to keep kind of tabs on all these things it's probably a little daunting. These trucks, for the most part, and bourbons are 60 to 66 styles.
Yeah.
Now the one that that I know or relate to you is your panel. How long have you had the panel? What's the story behind the panel?
I've had it probably the longest. I've had it 20, 22 years or something like that. Something like that. It started off to be one of those trucks that it came from California. A friend of mine, Lynn, that was into those trucks, had bought it. I remember at the time I really didn't have the money to buy it, and I wasn't in a position to buy any more cars. I was kind of into Volkswagens, and I still had a couple of 60 trucks and stuff. But I really wanted a panel truck because I was doing appliance work, and I thought that'd be the coolest thing ever to have a cool appliance truck. I could mob around and stuff like that. So he ended up putting me on the payment program when I bought the truck. It took me about 5 months to pay for it. It was only about $1,200. It was nothing. And, I got the truck, and then I used it for a while the way it was, got it running, and then I pro-streeted it, I tubbed it, and then life interrupted for a while. Kids going to school, I coached sports and stuff like that, so I had a lot going on. So it became a really nice storage shed for parts. So but I always knew that I wanted to finish it. So then I knew I'd never get rid of it because it was just that truck that it was crazy, because you said something once before that I remember that, the truck always smelled like my 63 from the gas station. I don't know how to explain that, but it always had that reminiscence of that truck, which always, really was something that struck a chord with me. So the panel truck is one of those trucks that I've had people try to buy it from me. But most people that know me know that's not necessary, that I don't need to sell it, don't need to, I want to keep it. And I got some plans coming up for it to freshen it up. It's completely chassis. It's got I've got a crate motor, everything in it. You could drive it anywhere, but it's time to update. Guys like Delmo's kind of motivated me maybe to think about LS power. And I really want to have that comfort. I want that truck to be something that coming up, I'm going to pull it apart, get the crew cab done. I'm going to pull it apart next. And I've been looking for a wreck like 08. I'm going to update that truck with all this real nice stuff, and then I'm going to drive it out to Texas and a bunch of shows. I really want to go out and see some guys in Texas, but I want to drive something. I want a trailer. I want to drive, be super comfortable, bump my stereo, and then, I want to be able to mob this thing anywhere we're going, up to Renee's party or wherever. I want to drive it everywhere.
Yeah, road trip that thing.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's going to be perfect for it.
Yeah, I think you brought it up. You alluded to, I brought it up in the intro show, and it's really neat how I think we've talked about Joe and Yezi. He's brought it up. If you get a chance to watch his video on the Auto Revolution online, they did a good job of videoing one of Joe Yezi's trucks, a Blue Jay, and one thing he talks about is comfort food. And I've had people get in my old trucks, just friends and coworkers, and it's like clockwork. They just look at you and they say, "It smells like my grandpa or my tata or my papa," and It does. It takes you back to that time where it is like comfort food, and it makes you feel good, and it makes you just kind of reminiscent of that time when, man, life was, I guess, simpler. And
no seatbelts. People get in there. Where's the seatbelt?
Don't worry about it.
I didn't use it.
How do I get this window down?
Yeah.
So, I think I've heard you talk about the panel. I remember one time you were telling me about, like you were going to put AC on it and everything. So you think you're going to go LS on it and then full line suspension and just road trip that bad boy?
Yeah, that truck was the first truck we ever put the drop member in. That was a truck. So Nate that with Porterbuilt had at the time when we kind of collaborated on that. He had a phenomenal idea, and then which spawned the drop member and has become a monster now. It's huge and it's like the best suspension thing going. Probably give that one back to him because it was his first one, so it could hang it up on the shelf. He said he'd hook me up with a newer one. The rest of the truck's done. Pull the body off, and then I'm just going to find, like I said, an 08. I really kind of like to get an 08. I want to get I don't need to have a super fast LS, but I want one with super big air conditioning so I could have 2 big giant 4-inch porches blowing on me so I can be nice and cool in that thing and
go down the road.
Yeah, I just want to make it really drivable. I used to drive back and forth to California in my cars. Now it's so easy to jump in my nice leathered out truck with a TV and tow it behind. I know, people call it trailer queens. I don't care what they say, but the truth is that I like that comfort, man. So I'm going to build a panel into that.
I guess I'm surprised. I thought your white 78 was probably the first drop member. What's the story with that truck, that square body?
No, the first drop member was I met Nate back, I think it was about 2004 or something like that, and the truck I'd already done my panel, and I bagged it at that time, and I had pancaked a crossmember. A guy named Steve Zamansky had pancaked a crossmember for me, and he was kind of the one that started all that stuff at Industrial. Another super sharp kid. I call him a kid because he's younger than me, but so he. I had taken that up to Nate, and Nate said, man, I got a better idea. And I said, well, I don't want any Ford parts on my truck. I don't want a Mustang 2 front end. We're not putting any Ford parts on my cars. Nate said, no, I got this idea that I've been thinking about. Nate's a prodigy. He's a young guy. I used to call him my nephew. Still do sometimes. He's really not my nephew, but he feels like a nephew. But he's just a super sharp kid and builds a hell of a product. But he came up with the concept of drop member. We put it on. I repped it. I'm a great cheerleader, so when I get behind something, no matter what it is, it's appliances or trucks, man, I can really rep it. And so we did that one, and it was really a big success, and I got the truck where I wanted. I want the bumper on the ground. That's tough to do in a 60 truck. It was probably the first thing that anybody's ever done without Z in the frame that didn't chop up a truck like that. From there, we just kind of...
So the 78 came, you did the panel, and then
No, I did a 63. Then we did a tech article for this. We did a tech article with my 66, that white 66 truck with the European wheels on it, and we did that one second. And we did a little tech article with classic trucks, and that really kind of got the ball rolling. But classics is not at that time really was not as vibrant a magazine as street trucks. We wanted to be in street trucks, so I said, okay, the 66 truck was so much fun to drive. I mean, it was bananas. Loved it. Loved driving it. You could drive it a squeeze off the ground. It was just such a cool truck to drive. I went out right away and found a really super clean 78 square body, which is a truck I grew up in high school, drove those cars all the time. It was another truck I loved to death. And so we did that one, and then we did a tech article for street trucks. And I think that's when it really started putting on the map. And then from there, you had, everybody's attention then. And you think about making a suspension component that's vibrant. I mean, there's lots of guys who do it.
I think that square body, I mean, just me personally, but I have that issue of street trucks. That white square body with those coys, yeah. I would say that was a game changer. Dino talks about it. It's kind of funny. He says, I'm the biggest cheerleader. That's a twofold. Not only is he a big dude, but he's there. I mean, again, he's helping me. We're doing this. He's my first builder. He's involved with the one and done. It's true. He's there to help his compadres and the people that he's around, and obviously with Nate too.
I got to tell you, and not to toot my own horn, but the 78 was by far one of the most popular trucks I built, and I thought it was a home run. I thought I lucked out to get a Silverado trimmed out truck, and I remember even Dell was trying to get his mitts on that thing, and he was really close to getting it one time, and it ended up going to a friend of mine here in town. And I remember one time I had so many air ride trucks that I think I had 26 batteries that I had to keep charged all the time. And I always thought to myself, man, I should be in the Optima battery. But I was the only guy that didn't have a lowrider hydro car that had 3 battery chargers that ran all the time. But anyway, so the truck ended up going to a guy in Texas, a real nice guy named Greg. His name from Boost Bags. And
he has it right now?
Yeah, and he loves it. It's in good hands. And honestly, the nice part about my truck, people say, he did this, he changed this and that. Hey, man, once people own them, put your spin on it. You like different wheels, change it. That's your truck now. Make it yours. I don't have an issue with that. I don't care if, once you get a truck that I built and you want to change it to make it your own, I don't have any issues with that. At the same time, with social media, it's so nice to be able to be on Instagram and see your truck pop up and still see people like it. And honestly, it's like anything. People like to feel good when you do a good job, and I appreciate when people like the stuff I built. I mean,
well, the white truck. I mean, hear you talk about it. Would you say that the white truck? I loved it, and I grew up square body. It's funny how I'm such a 67 to 72 guy, but I kind of think, was that all I was around was the square bodies, and that's why growing up, and they definitely made a comeback on me. Would you say that your 78, if you could have one back? I mean, I think of all these trucks and projects from the magazines and just coming down here and seeing what you've put together. Would you say that the 78 is if you could have one back, whether it was a car, whether it was a C10, a Volkswagen, What would you say? We have them all. We all would want one.
Yeah.
You probably want 10. What one would you want back?
Well, the dually, the one that I did was really, really one of my favorites, and it was real near and dear to me because it wasn't another appliance guy's truck. That another guy that owned named Rex owned that truck first, and he had it for about 30 years. Or he bought the truck in like 67, 70. Owned the truck a long time, and I lucked out to get the truck, and then after I found out that it was his truck, I was really more inspired. But the dually was really, to me, something I loved to death. Loved driving it. It had everything to it. But the truck that I really loved the most was my big 67 to 72. It was a crazy truck. It came off a farm. It drove down one row of a cow farm and just dropped hay off the side. It wasn't even tagged for lots of years. It just stayed on the farm. It only had 46,000 original miles on it. And people always said that, it's only farm miles, but that was truly true. And it even had the protector plate in it. But it was a truck to me that
truck you bought, it was local or California?
It was here local, but it ended up going to California, came back. I bought the truck for $700. It had a 20-foot long bed on the back, and I got rid of that. It was funny because I bought the truck off of Craigslist, and I went up there with some gas and a battery and actually drove the truck home, and the tires were so hard and so prehistoric. You probably could have drilled a hole in an air when it came out. They were so petrified, but I just fell in love with driving the truck, and it's kind of funny. My wife called that truck Big Joe, and my dad's name was Joe, and for some reason, when I used to look at the front of that truck, it kind of looked like my dad. I know it sounds kind of dumb, but you'd see a dog sometimes it looks like, but that truck always be. And I never name my cars. Some guys are so cool, they could come up with real cool names. I've never been, I'm good at naming cats, but for some reason I can't name my own cars. But I just call them Pro Street Truck or Red Truck or Blue Truck.
Well, that truck, I always think of it as Big Red. I think you should have got the Big Red Cinnamon Gum Company.
Yeah.
Because that was a big red truck.
It was fun to drive. I drove it everywhere I went. I loved driving it. I drove to the store, drove it everywhere. I dropped my kids off. It was just a truck that and it had a big old train horn. So it was good in traffic, and, you had no problems regulating traffic, no problem with Big Red. So, or Big Joe. I loved it. I was one of those trucks that I built another one since. Didn't have the same flair.
I feel like just since you've started that truck, built that truck, I've seen more of those come about. I think it's something that we all, because of whether it's the 60 to 66 style C50 or the 67 to 72. When I was a kid, my dad did concrete. He had a 67 to 72 just like that. They hauled their forms, and he had a square body, the big square body.
Yeah,
C50, cool. The yellow on the side. Yeah. So I was in those two trucks all the time as a kid. And I feel like there's so much potential and untapped potential in those big C50. Here in Arizona, they're around. Yeah. Do you feel like, I personally feel like when you started that, it's one of those things that we all want to start, but really, I guess this is a compliment, aren't crazy enough to start.
Oh, and I was lucky enough to have, like I said, Willie. He's always a guy who's willing to think outside the box with me at WCD Fabrications. And we were building another project then. I bought that truck, and I knew that I had just bought a long bed truck, and I put it on the back, and there's a crazy picture of it because the bed's 20 feet, so there was like 10 feet of gap in the middle, but I put the bed on the back over the wheels to see what it looked like. And it did kind of have a little trend there for a while, where I had some guys that loved the truck so much that would call me and ask for information how I did it. And then, of course, the nice part about that truck site that we do is I chronicled my build, so I could say, hey, go here, and you could see the work that's been in the process of doing, whether I've done it or Willie's done it or whoever's done some of the work on my cars. It's something I'm going to revisit. I'm going to build another one. I've had a thought in my mind that it would be neat to take a C50 like that 67 to 72, but put a Suburban back end on it, and then make a big boat puller. I don't have a boat, but it'd be cool.
Big Suburban?
Yeah, just a big Suburban, and so that I got a couple things that I would love to build, and they're still kind of. So
there's still more projects in the mad scientist mind.
Yeah, I'm going to build. I really want, of all things, I want a long bed truck after Dale built Red Fox. That red truck, Martin owns it. Everybody knows I got the wood for that truck, and it's crazy. That 24. Dell's new wheels, even though a lot of people have done them, I don't care. I want a set of those. I want to.
Yeah, I think he brought it out last year, right, to the show?
Yeah, I loved it. Honestly, it was for me. Some people don't like long beds. I don't care. Long or short beds don't care. Big or small windows don't care. But right now on my sights, and that's a truck I could build pretty quick. I could probably do a truck like that probably 2-3 months easy. I probably carburate that. Probably wouldn't LS it because it'll make it simple for me to do. And it's kind of like, but it's on my list. I want a long bed truck with 24s in the back. I want Delmo's hoops on it. I want that truck. I mean, that's what I want.
Do you feel like it's crazy to hear you say that you pick these trucks up for $1,200 on the panel, and I know you've had that for a long time. Yeah. $700 on the big C50. Do you feel like the trucks find you, or do you feel like you find the trucks?
I think that once you've been in a genre of a certain style truck, that they start to find you, and then of course with social media now, I got guys popping up. That's how I found the crew cab, the last one. Those are really the unicorn. I mean, they only made 100 of those cabs in some generations. A company called Staywage. I was at Good Guys in Delmar, and a guy named Dustin popped his head in my truck. Hey, dude, I know where there's another crew cab. You got to get this truck. And I was like, didn't even know him. So we exchanged some real quick things. I gave him a card. People tell you that all the time. I know where this is at. And it turned out to be a Dodge or whatever. So Dustin, super cool kid, hit me up. Went over, did a little investigating for me, did a little legwork. Called the guy. The kid called me. We made deal. It went down real quick. And it wouldn't have been for Dustin, I would never got that truck. It was like, real cool. And I invited Dustin out and I said, please, come out. Let me give you some money for bird dogging. And he wouldn't take any money. He's just such a great kid. I said, listen, please come out and be my guest for out till I get down. Come out here. And, I think I picked up his hotel room. I've been lucky that people know that I love those trucks. So I've been lucky that they've been finding me. The prices for the trucks now, honestly, they've gotten so popular now that it's hard for me. Not that I'm cheap about stuff. I don't mind paying up for whatever it is, but I'm not going to pay some of these prices because the trucks now have gotten hot. Like, not to say anything derogatory about some of these shows on TV, but they've scripted stuff where the trucks have sold for obscene amounts, and all of a sudden now people believe that they have these
rare barn finds
that are worth $6,500 when I was buying these trucks for $600 and $700, $800. I don't have any problems buying a truck what it's worth, but me and you looked at a truck that I was fiending on right now. It's a Flintstone-mobile. There's no floor in it, and the guy wants a G for it. And I'm like, I don't know, man. That's one of those things that
it's tough because one of the things I like to it's almost like I see the barn find trucks, but where's all the barns?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Every time I'm on Craigslist, it's like, oh, this is a barn find. This is a barn find. I'm like, where do I find the barns? You guys are talking about all these trucks. So, and I feel like this because I feel like I've done this. If I see something on Craigslist, I can only imagine that the people that that your phone's got to blow up all the time. And I remember just lately there was one out of California, and I just had to, it was mostly just because the plate, and I'm assuming it was Dino, but it obviously had Dino or Dino on the plate, and it was a 63, 64, something like that. I feel like guys probably blow you up when they find it because maybe they don't have the cash. They think you got all the cash, but come to find out you're finding these things for a great value, and then you're building the truck from there.
Yeah, and if I had a little shout out to Dominic. If I had the C10 Plantation, I'd probably have more trucks than anybody had. And it's probably me and you talked about that a little bit. Sometimes having too much space is not a good thing because I usually start collecting them. And I could, because honestly, it sounds super dumb, but I find such joy in just looking at these trucks. It's a weird thing. You walk outside, it's like having two big giant toolboxes. You sometimes just walk out there and look at them and go, man, these are bitching.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And they're mine. How do you decide which one to drive?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's funny. I always laugh a little bit about it because, like I said, I live in a little house in Central Phoenix, and you guys all got to see that, the one and done. I mean, it's literally you could walk in the front door and fall out the back door of my house, which is perfect for me. But I have a nice sized garage, and it's perfect, and I have enough room to keep enough stuff. But I've pulled out my cars, and there's a nursing home across the street, and I honestly think that people thought I was a drug dealer because I just kept bringing cars out of the back, and they were like, there's pictures of it, where I have had 8, 9, 12 cars go down the block, and it's just funny, but I kind of like to rotate them. Like last week, I was in the dually, the 86, and sometimes I think, man, I didn't drive it. Maybe I could sell this car. And then I drive it, and I'm back and love it.
I gotta, how did you find that truck? Because I'll tell you right now, I love a lot of your rigs, but that truck right there, I mean, if I remember, that thing had in the 40,000.
Yeah, it's got 49,000. It was crazy because it's like driving a big, nice, comfy couch, and it's super rare, first of all. It's because the utilitarian truck, emotionally everybody beat the crap out of them. They went to be in the industry. They were block layer trucks and stuff like that. But I found that rare OG truck. And there's a system to Craigslist that, everybody kind of, it's like the top secret menu in and out. I didn't know about these kind of fries or whatever. And there's ways that people find things on Craigslist, and kind of like guys like Dom and those guys, they figure that out and then they share that stuff. So we all have our little ways of figuring it out. Well, I hawked this truck on Craigslist, and I watched it for about 20 days, and it didn't go anywhere. It was for $5,000. It was the 86. It said it had low miles. Nobody really believes that too much. Not a very good picture of the truck. And so finally I said, you know what, if it's there, that was Friday. I said, if it's there Sunday, I'm going to look at it. So I brought some cash with me, and I went over, and it was not too even far from my house. It was crazy. It was really not far at all. Went over, met the guy. He seemed like a little shady guy, which made me a little bit more worried about it. But when I saw the truck and I saw that it was unmolested, which is one of those things you like to see. I mean, it just, what I mean by that is that nobody took the air cleaner off and put like a, Checker Auto air cleaner on. It was just all really there. And the truck still had plastic on the carpet in the back seat. It was crazy. And what it was some old boy's truck that he owned it. He was probably a guy like me who takes such good care of his stuff, and it stayed its whole life in a garage, because in Arizona, everything gets super crispy. I mean, we might not have our bodies that rot, but you'll drive that truck like that, and it'll just be a cornflake in a second, So it was super, just the windows, everything on the truck was legit. So I made the guy the offer. He didn't want to bump off the offer. So, I said, well, here's my number, and just call me if you want to sell it. And I showed him the money. And, of course, the money talks. So the next day he called me and brought it over. And then I was like, okay, I'm leaving this one alone, man. I'm leaving this one alone.
The rest is history. Well, you didn't leave it alone completely, but if you guys don't know what we're talking about Dino has an 86 dually. It's white. Here's the killer on it. Is some of them that I've seen have the red interior, which is like this deep burgundy. And I tell you what, you can have it. If you like that, good for you, because they're out there. But the one he scores is tan interior, and it's white with tan interior. It's a 4-door dually, 86, which pre-fuel injected, right? 87's fuel injected.
54, yeah.
Yeah. What a killer ride, and I'm going to have to put my name down if he decides to sell it. Let him know that, which, if you know Dino, we've already talked about it, he's probably going to sell it. The only one he's not going to sell is the panel. So
and the Pro Street.
And the Pro Street. He loves that Pro Street. Yeah, that thing's pretty sweet. So, So we've kind of got an idea of how you find these things, because I think that's a big thing. Is guys just want to know, how do you find these trucks and what deals and things like that. What you talked about, the dually, your 86 not being molested. What do you look for when you go look at these? Guys ask me. Guys at work, it's so funny. They know I'm a truck guy. So I'll get random calls all the time. Even today, I got a call on a 51 Dodge. A guy's looking at a 51 Dodge. And I'm like, I don't know that much about 51 Dodges.
Yeah.
But here's what I look at. And the things I look at are exactly what you said, is like, how many owners have been through this thing and what have they done? And I try to tell guys that value. I understand some people don't have that extra $5,000, that extra $1,000, that extra $1,500. But what they don't realize is how much time and hassle and headache that is going to save them to find that third, fourth, and I know it's getting harder and harder to find. We're lucky. We're still lucky here, but
yeah.
What would you say are the top few things you look at when you go to look at one of these trucks?
The 60 trucks for sure. I think one of my big hate peeves is, the truck was all metal, so of course everything in the world was screwed to it. Or bedazzled with, like, even my dually was that same way. It had a hood ornament on it. It had all kinds of stuff. And so the holes that you're going to fill in, lots of, not too worried about that. My big thing is that I don't like painted interiors. I don't like when they want to rat rod the truck and paint it all red inside. I've sanded enough interiors. I don't want to sand any more interiors. So I kind of look for, I don't worry too much about the rust issue out here, because of course I have Ray and Willie and these guys that, can get it done. And we don't really have much issues here. The 60 trucks have some characteristic issues that are not challenges, not a big deal at all. I just don't like painted interiors. That's my big thing. I don't care about this or that. Of course, most generally everybody hacks up the dash. That's not that big a deal. But most generally, that's what I look for mostly. The patina thing is on and off with me. I like patina a lot. I like painted trucks, but I definitely like patina colors. So the color thing is a real big deal for me. So the big unicorns for us now are, blue trucks. You got a powder blue truck, or a dark blue truck like Mike scored. I don't know if Mike knows it, like Losh knows how rare that blue truck is, but that's a real rare blue truck. I love that blue. I never owned one of those.
He's going to paint it, you know.
Yeah, it's okay. I got nothing against that.
That's what he says.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, and you know, he should. I mean, he's at a different level where I think that sometimes the patina thing is, sometimes it's beat to death, sometimes it's not. I mean, it's still real vibrant with me back and forth. It just depends. Not a big guy on the whole fake patina thing, I get it, but at the same time, it's hard to, I don't know, it's one of those things. But I mean, like I said, the color has a lot to do with it. In our trucks, it's, especially with the 60 trucks, the square body trucks, man, they can't be roasted inside. They just can't be beat to death because, unfortunately, it just takes a lot. And even though the guys like Jeff at the Chrome Guy can get you any part you want, and that's a tangible thing that you can do, it still gets to be spendy. So you got to kind of figure out when you're going to buy the truck and what's the plan.
Well, and I don't think the square bodies, depending on the year, if it's been beat up, like you said, I don't know that they can handle it the way that the earlier trucks can handle it. With the wood floor,
you can move it. I think a good example, and you kind of just made me think of this, was like I wanted to build a pre-runner truck, a lifted pre-runner truck. I just love that look. And I've done it once before, so I really love that. A 36-inch tire, so I was like, man, I really... So I found I wanted a long bed, super clean truck with nothing. Stick shift truck. And I found one. And even though it was exactly what I wanted for the thought of what I wanted to build, I didn't really care so much about the body. I just wanted it was painted with a paintbrush probably, you know. But it could clean up, but it'd be perfect for that build. So sometimes it just depends on what I have in mind that I want to build. Like, I think that what me and you were talking about what I want to build with a long bed truck, I really want a white truck or an orange truck. A long bed truck that I want it to be trimmed. I don't want to have to, I want it to be already custom. It'd be nice to be a long bed, big window. So those are things that I'll start to put together when I think about my truck that I'm going to build with a long bed. So, yeah, it's kind of switches around to and I think that's sometimes where guys will call and ask me, hey, I got this idea. What do you think? And I like that when people, you know, that's a kind of a cool thing. But
well, it's a compliment.
And I tell people, I said, you know, make it yours. Not everything has to lay on the ground. You know, we talked a little bit about a friend that me and you know, a kid named Jake, a young guy. And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself on what we were talking about, but I saw him at the pavilions of the night. There's a cruise spot that we go to. A kid rolled in, young guy.
The white truck?
Yeah, built a 67 small window truck, which is not super desirable, but Jake nailed it. Smoothed out the body. It's a family deal. Him and his dad did it in the backyard. Truck to me was a neck breaker. I was really stoked. Super nice kid. He came to our party last year. It's on Boss. It's a low budget truck because he's a youngster kid, but it doesn't look like low budget.
No, you'd never know that. I got to tell you this. The first time I ever saw that truck was, so I was working at the fire station that covers this high school, and I roll into this high school, and I see that truck. It's the white with the small window.
Beautiful color.
It's rolling on the Bosses. And then I'm thinking of the good guys. I ended up talking to Jake and his dad. And here's the deal. Cool truck. I can't imagine being 16, 17 rolling this truck. Yeah. And then just a good family build because they're both salt of the earth, good people, and they put this truck together. So that it's just that's where I like the truck, but it just the feeling that I get because of once I meet the dad, I meet the son, and then to know that they did that together it's a unique thing.
And you know it was cool because here's my truck laying on the ground, and then Jake pulled up and he had air ride, backed it up, had his girl with him, super nice girl, and he backs it up and he lets the truck out. It doesn't hit the ground. Some people kind of look at that like, oh, it doesn't hit the ground. I said, Jake, this truck's bitching the way it is, dude. Don't change the stance. I go, you nailed it. The stance to me, honestly, Ronnie, is the number one thing. You know, it's kind of like what women equate to like shoes. Have the most coolest dress on and you wear the wrong shoe, it's a swing and a miss. The stance on a car really is, to me, nails it. You can have a real beater but have the right stance and a set of hoops on it, and that thing works. So not everything has to lay on the ground to me, or it has to be bagged, or if you got it nailed, it's like it's a dumb analogy. It's like some of the good guys, and I pit on you guys, but they'll have these real cool hot rod cars. They'll build a Merc and they'll chop it, then leave it 5 inches off the ground with off the rack wheels. I'm like, man, just a little bit more cool. It's just one of those things that some guys, but it's what they like or what their budget was. So I can't condemn that part of it, but it's just what I look at.
One of the questions I had for you was the kids that are getting into the scene. I feel like you talked a little bit about, Eddie, little Eddie, and I met him at the One and Done. What a good kid. And this kid, Jake, who's local here. Mm-hmm. What do you tell these kids? You tell a kid getting into the scene, and I hope they do. I hope they come into the scene and they keep coming, because I feel like their minds, their intellect, and their vision will continue to power the C10 truck scene.
Well, it's nice to see a kid actually do something besides work on his phone. You know what I mean? So it's nice to, I hate to say that, but I'm kind of lucky. My kids are kind of into cars, not really. My son is mechanical, but he finds different ways. He's a sports kid, stuff like that. And my daughter's into cars, and she'll drive all my stuff and be cool and stuff like that. Eddie Money's kid, he's another kid that we're going to go to Seaman together, and he's a youngster, and I love that energy that he's out there. He knows cars, he fiends for cars, because as a young guy, I was such a big car guy, and it's nice to see refreshing where these guys, Jake and those guys, hey, I dig if those kids like tuner cars or stuff like that, because that's their grip at the time, where now that's kind of their 60 Chevy truck was these Hondas, and I get it, I dig it, and I don't care that the pipe sounds like that, I don't care. I just like to see him doing something mechanical.
Yeah,
totally. I like to see him where my kids dog me out a little bit because I don't know how to use the internet, and I have to call them. I go, well, yeah, but I can make your car run. You know what I mean? So let's put that in perspective. But it's one of those things that I really enjoy seeing the younger guys, and that was one of the things that I got to commend Joey about, that he put that One and Done together. So many different people came out with different levels of talent that never saw some of the stuff, that never held a grinder, never did that stuff. And all those guys, those big builder guys that came out that were helpful, came out, showed people, and it got people inspired. So that was cool, you know what I mean?
I'm sitting here and I'm just looking at the amount of questions I still have for you. So I'm just going to plow away. We're going to power through this. I could sit here and talk to him all day long. It's going good.
Seems like we have, hasn't it?
I'm just looking this over and I'm like, man, I think one of the things I wanted to kind of throw out to you was I still want to get to the Dell cutout, but when you build a truck, what would you say is your must-have? Like when you're looking at it, when you're making sure you're going to pick it up, you're on your way. When you're sitting there, for me personally, sometimes that's one of the worst things about getting calls late at night at the fire station, is because when I get back, my brain just starts going. And when your brain's going and you're off work and you're at home, whatever it is you're doing, what are you thinking about? What product are you putting on that thing?
Well, like right now, I think that I'm really twisted over AccuAir. Honestly, to tell you the truth, I was a lot simplistic about my air ride. I put all my stuff together. Switch suspension has been a big supporter for me. He's been super cool about it, but he's also an AccuAir dealer. But I got lucky enough that Joey put me together with AccuAir, and I got to tell you, man, I was really impressed, first of all, by Derek and just how nice everybody was. There was no big egos, but the product itself is bananas. I got to tell you, I was probably one of those kind of guys that said, I don't need AccuAir. This is cool. The dually's going to be on AccuAir, and I think for as big as a truck it is, it needs an air management system that most generally I fly by the seat of my pants on an air ride, and I've always done it that way. But it's really going to be nice. This truck's at a different level for me. I probably don't want to drag it down the street. I'm not saying I won't, but I really want it to be next level. So AccuAir is on top of their game. They're the best out there on that part of it. So for me, honestly, I've switched up my thought process. I was always running manual valves, and I've done a lot of different air ride stuff. I've a lot of different combinations, but I'm pretty stoked about being with this AccuAir thing.
Yeah, I think the One and Done was proof, man, that not only was Derek, first time I met him, was just a really good dude. Mm-hmm. Again, it's just, and those guys, their story, I believe, is comes from the roots of trucks. Mm-hmm. I think they were putting together a Blazer. I just feel like it went together really well, and your value, you're getting, again, it's back to that value of if you buy a truck that's been cut up, chopped up, and like we talked about, molested, if you can find that truck that's not been that way, and again, how much you go through, AccuAir has put that together for you. I've never personally had an AccuAir system. I hope someday too, but it does look like it. The way it went on your crew dually, mm-hmm. it seemed to go well.
And I gotta tell you, man, not to keep beating this dead horse about how good I dig them. I mean, honestly, they were stepped up, and the biggest thing I also dig about AccuAir, they're in this scene. I know it sounds corny, but man, they go to events, they go to car shows. They're listening to dudes about, they tweaked this. They said, yeah, we saw this was a problem and this and that. So I think they're real vibrant about what they're doing. And they're a guy on the edge that, first of all, Acura puts them on super high-end cars. They put them on some high-end BMW stuff. And the stuff is legit when you're busting on the Autobahn going a billion miles an hour, whatever. You got the reliability of this is some serious engineered stuff. So I can't say enough about them. I'm pretty stoked. I think I'm going to have the benefit of being in SEMA and rocking AccuWear stuff. And it's kind of ironic that the truck is yellow and that's their color. So I think it's going to be a real cool deal between me and them. I'm pretty stoked to be, involved with them.
Yeah, perfect fit, really. I mean, and again, you talked about him being in the scene, and it's hard not to toot the horn because going out and the one and done and being involved and meeting Derek and really, honestly, meeting his dad. I could talk to his dad for hours and hours.
Yep.
And just knowing that those guys are part of it. They're in there, they're doing it, and they're repping it just as hard. And it's a cool thing. So that was a lot of fun. You talked a little bit, we've kind of segued into your crew dually. What would you say? I've heard you and talked to you over different times that we've interacted. How's that going? What's the update on your? So we've got, just so you guys know, he's got a 65, 66, what is it, 63?
Yeah.
63 crew cab dually.
Chassis built in the backyard. Joe helped me with that. A couple other guys helped me with that. We built that 100% in the backyard. It's bananas. The chassis is like I said, it's we would use the term Yezi clean. That's something that means that thing is bananas. I mean, it's something I'm really proud of. I think it's going to drive really nice. I left the drivability. It's not a rotisserie show truck. I want to drive this truck, and anybody knows me knows I drive my stuff hard. I got a real good guy involved. His name is Ray. He's over United. Ray's ridiculous thinker and an amazing, talented guy when it comes to body. Most guys hate painters and body. They call it paint prison, whatever. Emotionally, I do 90% of everything in my backyard. I paint my backyard. I do everything in my backyard. This project was just too big. I need the expertise of a guy named Ray to say, basically, these cabs are really rare. They were in industry. They were beat to death. And this truck was so cancered out that it was basically, by the time we took it apart, it had two back doors, half of the back of the cab, and a B-pillar, which is between the two, which we ended up cutting the front of the cab off right between the B-pillar. I've used 3 different cabs. Ray came up with a great idea that I'm kind of going for something at SEMA that I want GM to look at my truck, which would be a big deal, and say, and look at themselves and go, did we build this? So we're really trying to put it back on spec. So Ray came up with a bunch of really cool ideas. We put a complete metal headliner back in it. I would tell you that this truck, is this the pinnacle of trucks I've built? I think this truck's going to be bananas. Can't wait to drive it. I just want to drive it. I'm really super stoked that it's going to be mine.
Yeah, I'm going to just throw this out real quick because we already we alluded to Sam and Joe and Broey. Let me throw out one thing. Broey is also Joey. So Just so you guys know, when you listen, Broey and Joey are the same guy. I think I've got a prediction that Dino is going to be getting a lot of bananas in the mail. He said bananas a few times, so I got a feeling that Sam and Joe are going to be sending some bananas. And bananas means good. It means awesome. So I'm going to translate for you. That's one fun thing about just hanging out and chilling with Dino, is that we can I could poke a little bit of fun at him. So you talked about do you have a name for that truck? Because I got a name. I gotta get it out there too.
I wish I could come up with like that cool Delmo thing. I just, for some reason, like I said, I just don't have a name for it.
Sometimes my problem is I come up with a name, a concept, and I don't even have the truck yet. I don't own it, and my wife gives me a hard time because my creative juices start flowing. So I'm thinking the crew, the dually. You might want to consider the Crewly. I don't know if that sounds too mean, but
there you go. You never know, man. That might work. I was thinking about a license plate. I was not going to use El Dino for this one, but I was just thinking about, I have a couple different license plates, and one of them on the wall that used to say needed it, and nobody ever got it. I always used to say netted it. So people would say, who's net? What did net do? But I've been thinking about license plates for the truck, so I've been thinking about just me time. And that's kind of a...
You better see if it's taken.
I can tell you that, man, honestly, that I can hardly wait. One of the bucket list things for me is one thing is to be able to share this truck at SEMA. Really be able to rep the people who's helped me build this truck, for one. And two, I want to do that drive. I want to drive out. I want to be bumping. I'm going to put one heck of a stereo in that thing. I mean, it'll.
Like orange Suburban type stereo.
Yeah, it'll be over the top. We're gonna put some serious power to it, and it's gonna be banging. And I tell you what, I want to be able to mob out of that place and fill that, and put all my partners in there and drive out.
So you're going. So you've got you already know 2015. You got a spot, SEMA, and I'm thinking it's AccuAir spot.
I'm hoping to be where Tootsie was at, which is out in the pavilion area, and that would be a big deal for me. But I think this truck is innovative enough, even though it's it's a crew cab and it's a dually. But I just really I think I got a cool truck. I mean, I'm pretty stoked about building it, and I was lucky enough that I got a rendering from a guy who shares my concept, my thoughts. He's just Brian, a Problem Child, and he's also the guy who does all my artwork for my stuff. And for you guys that don't know him at Problem Child, he's probably the nicest guy on the planet and probably one of the most talented cats. Unbelievable, and I'm lucky to have his artwork. He's really in demand. He's so backed up with doing so much stuff that I've been lucky enough that he's made me cool.
Yeah, well, I think you've made yourself cool, but I think so. If you guys haven't seen Brian's stuff, it's Problem Child Customs. I think it's a K on the customs. Yeah, he's a local guy here, but he does a lot of Mopar stuff. If I remember right, he does some killer renderings, and check him out. Check him out online. He does some killer stuff. Check it out. I think I kind of want to throw out. You've talked about the builds. You've talked about the crew cab. You talked about going to SEMA. Do you feel like now, I feel like I wonder sometimes if Eric feels this way, or even Keith, when you build that level, when you put that level of a truck together, and with your 66 dually and with all these trucks we've seen you put together, do you feel like there's more pressure to continue that, or do you feel like, hey, I'm just going to build them when I find them, I'm going to put my spin on them, and we're going to see what happens? Because I feel like you have a following now, and I just wonder, do you feel like, hey, I got to build the next game changer?
I don't think it's so much pressure. I don't think that I have an eyeball, and I appreciate the kind words, that's for sure. But like my off-road truck that I'm building, this 2-wheel drive truck, and I just have these ideas in my head that that I have. I mean, who would ever thought that anybody would want to see a Pro Street truck, with a 31-inch rear tire on it? But I just like, honestly, to tell you the truth, those guys, not taking away from the stuff that those guys build, which is a different level for me. I mean, they're at a top shelf level, and to be compared to those or be in the same, not to sound too humble, that's a big deal for me. I mean, those are guys I looked up to, but I honestly don't feel any pressure for it. I've always built everything clean, no matter what I built. And like I said, I got some things on my mind, what I want to build, and I just want to make sure. Sometimes I'm a little bit too task-driven to do too much, but the fun builds in between, the stuff that doesn't cost much, that doesn't really have to be so elaborate, or some of the fun stuff that I kind of just enjoy. The dually truck right now, for me, I really have an idea of what I want, and I'll get a lot of joy and pride out of building that. But who knows what I want to, when I build the next thing, honestly. Sometimes, even like I said, the off-road truck that I'm doing right now, it's not over the top. It's fun. I think it's ridiculous that it has I said 36, it has a 37-inch 17 KR Baja tire, and it's 27 inches off the rocker, and it'll split your boys getting in it. But it's fun, dude. It's going to be fun. I think that's going to be some fun.
If you haven't seen, go to Dino's Instagram, and I think there's a picture of it with where you're standing next to that tire. And he's not a small guy. The tire makes him look small. He's not a small guy. So, all right, let's kind of segue here. We're just kind of start to wind down. A couple other questions I have for you. I just want to kind of pick your brain on this. This is kind of, for me, high school. Just out of high school, I'm just going to paint this picture. 72, two-tone, rolling on 4.6 drop, rolling on some killer 15s. That was it. To me, that back then, that was it. I almost kind of like, I look at the early classic red and white truck, and that, to me, was just a home run. And now I look at the patina, and I look at the 20s plus, and I look at the bag versus the static. What do you see? What do you see trending? What do you see with the trucks, whether it's the 60 to 66s that, if I would have asked this question to you a year ago, who would have known? Because now I think they're more popular. I think the 67, 72s have really held tight. It's almost like they've got to that status.
I think the square bodies are starting to get more popular. What trend? What do you see? What is something that you feel like is coming, or it's right there?
And I think it depends on some age. You know, like California has a style, like Texas has a big lip right now. Everything's on a big lip, and I love that look. It's like Pro Street meets 24s, and the cats in Texas are getting it done. I mean, they're building some stuff that's just super over the top, and I dig that a ton. So it's hard to see. I like that it's a different trend. I like that some of the younger guys, like my son, has an '08 on 24s, only lowered a little bit, but it has still of a sports truck look. So, I mean, there's a lot of that right now you can even get away. I have a 97 truck that I two-toned back in the day, and it just has 20s on it, and, actually has 22s in the rear. But, I mean, it was one of those things that just depends on the truck. So I think it's kind of right now up in the air. There's really, definitely, you know, the patina thing it goes in and out with me. There's still love tons of patina stuff. Definitely a style that still is a home run for me, but at the same time, I really like the blue and white truck that Sam has now that I did. That truck is another one of those trucks that super, super, super over the top clean. That was one of those trucks that I felt like I stepped up my game on that, you know. And
I asked Sam one time, I said, hey, what's the name on that truck? Because he's always naming his trucks, and he just said, that's just Dino 64. So now we can give him a hard time. We just call it Dino 64. What, you know, we'll talk about that real quick. I mean, talk about some of these trucks you build and you keep, and some you build and you haven't kept, like the orange Suburban.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see how fast that one moved, but just as surprised, I was surprised to see how fast your 64 moved. What was your thought on that?
It was crazy. Me and Sam and Rob back from California went to Del Mar, and Sam had brought some G's with him. He's he's loaded. You know, he's really just
he's
loaded.
A baller.
Yeah, he lives in Ahwatukee, so the guard's always really nice to get to Sam's house. By the way, he's always like, "Yes, sir, Master Sam will let you in." Anyways, so we were rolling back. We were in my crew cab, actually. We were mobbing back from San Diego. Had a great time. Sam had rolled over with me and was a little upset that he was going to try to find something to buy and bring back. So he had some, he had some cake on him on the way back. So we were just chatting it up, and he's like, man, I'm kind of bummed I didn't sell anything. And I said, well, why don't you just buy the blue and white truck? And I just kind of put that out. He had a big fat stack on him. He handed it to me. We made a deal. We shook a handshake, and that's exactly how it went. It was crazy, and I never even looked back. Super stoked that he got the truck. It's in good hands. I'm pretty excited. I think Sam's probably going to run the truck through Barrett. People are like, aren't you mad he used to sell the truck again? I said, are you kidding me? Not mad. It's his truck. He can do anything he wants to. But, I mean, no matter what, I got the chance to own it, have the opportunity to build it. Really liked it. Truck had some fun stuff to it. I thought it was over the top. I wanted to try to build a super clean truck, and my whole goal was to put it in Courtesy Showroom, Chevrolet, their showroom, and I made that. And that was another task that was done. But I mean, really, it was. I'm super stoked, and I can hardly wait to go to Barrett to see what it does.
You know, one thing that just makes me think about this is makes me think about Mike Losh and what he did with, Square Peg and how much work some of these guys, and I think Dino's in both categories. I feel like you build them to see what you're capable of doing. Plus, it's probably therapeutic for you. But some of these trucks are moving quick through your hands, and some of them are staying tight. So it might just depend on the day, how you're feeling, and if that truck or that build makes you feel that way. Yeah, it's a cool thing. Let's go right in. I guess the big thing that I haven't hit, that I want to talk to you about is, what is the story? How did the Get Down come about?
Yeah, man,
I mean, This is really one of the funnest for you guys that aren't around here in Arizona. The Get Down, which is in November, which we're about 5 weeks out now, is the Friday night before Good Guys, and it is a fun time. Last year, there were cops involved. Not too bad. There's a lot of trucks, a few cars, and hopefully you've probably seen it covered in street trucks a few different times.
Yeah, all 3 years.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend you put it on your bucket list. I don't even know if Dino's going to be able to continue to hold it here at the shop. What's the story? Well, how did it come about?
Well, my good friend Renee is C10 King, which at the time we didn't really know each other, and I used to always think, well, who's this C10 guy? I probably have more trucks than he does, but I think he's owned more trucks than all of us at one time. a super iconic guy in our genre of what we do too. But Renee would always have a big party at his house, and it was just last weekend, and I missed it, and I really didn't want to miss. My work was just, unfortunately, it just interrupted. I couldn't get there. But Renee has a compound that has a really, and he's got a super nice wife, and they're super welcoming. They're a Mexican family who our culture and the Italian culture is almost the same. We welcome you into your home with everybody hugs, and it's just a great thing. But Renee always has a party up at his place, and he gets 80, 90 cars in his backyard, and it's just a really good time. And I always saw that as, man, that's something I want to do. So I started off in my little house, and we got 30 trucks or something. I don't know, 30, 40 people. And I started in my backyard. Dell came down. It's the first time I got a chance to meet Dell. And it was really one of those things that it was the same feeling, it was really nice. And I said, man, and actually I never coined the phrase the get down. I think Sam did. Sam was the guy who even got the first year, even got the artwork done for me I didn't at that time knew Brian, but didn't know how to get a hold of him. And Sam made that all happen for me and took care of that. And it was kind of weird that Sam did put 2 of his trucks on the front of the shirt. But anyways, just kidding. But, the thing about it was it started off just to be exactly what it was. We wanted to do something for Friday night before the good guys to meet up. And it just escalated. So the first year, the second year we had it here, we probably had 600 people here and maybe 7,500 cars. Well, it's real laid back. There's nothing to it. Show up, park your car, come in, eat some hamburgers, slap each other on the back. We'll tell some stories. And then we try to meet up here the next morning we just all meet here, and then we go down the freeway, meet up to Good Guys. So some guys like to go to Good Guys early and do that whole thing. I don't like to go to Good Guys early and wait in that line. I like to be kind of roll in. So it's just now has grown into this thing that's just epic, man. It's cool. I think last year was the biggest year we had, 1,200 people here or so. I can only say that because we did 1,200 hamburgers and 250 hot dogs or whatever it was. But the cops came because it got so big that the cars were spilling out into the street. So this year we've went ahead and blocked the street. I got a permit. Thanks, Dom. We got a big lot across the street. So yourself is going to help. You and Chad are going to help us this year. We're going to try to get as many people as we can in. We try to put all the high-end stuff, Tootsie. We're going to pop out Eddie's truck. Eddie Money's going to build a truck that Joe helped him with. And we're going to keep it covered up and have something fun with that where nobody's going to get a chance to see it till we're all here. Starts about 5. If you're going to bring a truck, you're going to probably have to get here a little early. It's at my shop, my appliance shop, which people sometimes laugh because they think they don't understand that I'm in the appliance business and it's what I do. But it's just real laid back. It's a family thing. We don't have any drinking here. It's really just come in here, enjoy the same culture of what we all dig. You know what I mean? We do have a couple of Ford guys that show up, and we make them rock the pink sticker that says Chevy only. I was going to do My Little Pony stickers, but I just didn't have the heart to make them. But so it's mainly only for Chevy guys. But I always tease guys. Will say, "Well, my 53 Ford has a Chevy motor." I'm like, "Well, just bring the motor." But we don't. But it's really just about having a good time. But something I'm really stoked to be in. And we do a shirt, and we post up everybody's trucks, different years of trucks, and different years different years and different guys on the trucks on the shirts. So it's kind of gotten to be a.
It's a big deal. I think if you make it, honestly, if you make it onto the shirt or the poster, that's a big deal.
I think for me as a car guy, man, whenever I got a chance to be in something, even I've been lucky enough to be in magazines as a kid, man, that was a big deal for me. It still is. I'm very appreciative to that stuff. So I've been lucky that, the Erics and those guys and, Johnny Oro and Eddie and those guys that all let me put their trucks. Now this year we got Larry and we got 2 Adele's trucks that he built. We're going to have Heisenberg, which is an epic truck, and of course Larry, that's another truck that's bananas. Those guys will be here, and we're going to have some really top trucks. This year, Jason Mulligan used to be the big top dog over at Street Trucks, which we love. He's got Auto Revolution now, which is a super killer online magazine. The guy does such a good job. Just what he gives back to the car culture, the truck culture.
Yeah, that guy's everywhere. I feel like there's like 10 Jasons.
Yeah, he's just really such a little Fonzie. The guy's so cool that I just appreciate him a ton, And so I heard that Kevin Aguilero's coming from Street Trucks, which is another big thank you. But, it's just going to, and I'm hoping that maybe I can introduce these guys to Jake, and let's get his truck, get some rep on his truck. And see if we can get some of those guys to get some swag out of, to get, a little swag out of it. As far as what I mean by that is to be able to rep their truck and get some shine on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think You nailed it. I mean, Jason and Kevin, who were both at the One and Done, it sounds like they're going to be here, and they're going to be, again, it's covered. It's a lot of fun. If you get a chance and you can make it out, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. The one thing I think he needs to start doing is having it earlier. It's funny because I almost feel like you could compete with good guys because the price is right. That's one thing. And we run out of daylight so fast because we want to look at the trucks that are in the overflow parking lot to the west. And it's a good time. So if you get a chance, the hospitality is second to none. The price is right, and there's a lot of killer trucks. I can only imagine and just feel, I actually feel that that's a tough night. I know you handle it well, but it's a lot of people pulling you in a lot of different directions. So,
well, it's the quintessential.
It is the quintessential.
You know, and then the next day, too, you know, we try to make a weekend of it. Sorry, I had to throw the quintessential. I think I hardly wait to say that word again. But we try to make a weekend. All of our cats we get people from Texas, Mad Rods, and these guys that come out from Texas. And, man, these are some really good dudes. And come out, a bunch of friends from California. We get people we've had Pat from Germany. We've had people all over the place. And it's just been really gotten to be like a destination, and it's been really fun that we try to spend the whole weekend together, even though we don't do all car stuff together. But one of the funnest times too is that Saturday morning my brother comes out after we cook on Friday. Then Saturday morning we usually get some guys that we leave trucks over and stuff like that. So we cook breakfast in the morning, and for those guys that don't mind showing up to good guys around 10 o'clock or 9:30. And then we just get on the freeway, and it's one of my favorite things is because, like I said, it's like Christmas, and we all got brand new Schwinn's, and we're all now 10 again, you know, and we just go down the freeway just like a bunch of crazy kids, you know, let out for recess. And it's just man, dude, I don't know, it's just a good time. It's real laid back, just a good time.
You've seen the trucks on the freeway cruising. It's made a lot of different Instagram, C10 forums, C10 whatever. It's been out there. It's a fun time. That's a perfect analogy. It's like a bunch of kids with their brand new Schwinn's on Christmas riding around the block or getting out for recess. So, all right, with that, I want to hit this last thing. He's been staring at us for well over an hour and a half now. His eyes are beating down on me. What is the story with the Dell cutout?
Well, Dell is a wanted man. You know, I mean, everybody wants him. So I was lucky enough that Dell was going to be in two places at one time. Sam had a birthday party, and then I think Dell had to open a restaurant or kiss some babies or something. It was something really super important they had to do, so he couldn't be here for it. And I'm just kidding about that. But so I took a picture of Dell, and I took it down to my local guy who does all my photos, and I had him blown up like one of those stand-up cardboard cutouts. So we took Dell with us everywhere we went, and we took pictures with him. And honestly, most of those pictures looked like Dell was there. It was hilarious. We took him to Sam's house. I gave it to Sam for his birthday. Sam's wife was creeped out by it because Sam, left it in a room, and he gave it back to me. So now we still take it out there. But when Dell can't be here in body, we just have him as his little picture. And I tell you that I've had lots of people come through here that want to stop by, that are traveling through, just want to come by and get a sticker or something. Everybody has to take a picture with Dell.
Well, one of the coolest pictures that Dino has is right behind him in the C10 Builder's Guide from last year. He has a picture of Dell with Dell. So
yeah.
So it's a double picture, which is killer. And again, part of this group is not just the trucks, but it's the people. And whether it's the Get Down, whether it's the One and Done, whether it's Renee's, whether it's whatever you got going in your community, it's a good thing. And we hope that you keep rocking it. We hope that you can make it out. I'm so excited that I was able to have Dino on the first show. It's been a lot of fun. And I got a few things I'm going to hit with you here, and we're going to wrap it up.
And man, back at you, dude, for what you're doing with the C10 talk. I'm a little behind. I'm a little slow sometimes on things. I didn't kind of get the whole what it was about. I'm super stoked to be on it, and I think what you're doing is awesome, man. I commend you on that, and you're everything. You're such a humble guy, and you got the biggest heart on the planet. But enough of that.
Okay, I appreciate it, dude. I'm going to do one little thing, and then we're going to kind of have one last thing. I want to do the speed round. Again, this is my first builder show. I thought this would be fun. I don't want to keep all the questions the same. I thought this would kind of be fun to play around here. So, speed round, get ready, give me your answers. You're building a truck, whatever it is, car, a motor, carb or fuel injected.
I'm going to do carb right now.
All right, carbureted. Seat, bench or bucket?
I'm a couch killer, so we got to go with the bench.
All right, the big bench for the couch killer. Radio, do you like a radio delete? I know the answer to this. Big time system.
Yeah, big time system, iPod, lots of power. Gonna need some batteries.
Yeah, batteries and 612s in the orange sub. I can't wait to see what the Crewley has in it. The bed floor, wood or metal?
I'm gonna go with wood right now. Everybody likes wood.
Dino's bringing the wood. Paint, all right, patina or fresh?
I gotta tell you, I'm still a patina guy. I love it. If you can find the right patina, it's golden.
Yeah, finding all the matching panels anymore, it's getting harder and harder to do.
It's golden.
Unless you're Sambrek and you can just roll up and find them.
Yeah.
Paint, again, two-tone or solid?
I gotta be two-tone.
Oh, man, I'm with you. Anything two-tone. Mm-hmm. Suspension, static or bagged?
Yeah, I'm a big bag guy.
Yeah, I kind of know the answer to that one. Appliance, Whirlpool or Maytag?
Let's go with Whirlpool, even though it's owned by the same company. That's all right. We'll let you have that rookie mistake. That's okay.
I had to do a little research. I didn't want to sell him out. He services like 6 different companies. So I kind of wanted to set him up on that one. So Whirlpool or Maytag. So you guys are getting ready to buy a Whirlpool or a Maytag. You heard it from the man. All right. In closing, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit with you about Chevy only swag. I thought that I wasn't sure where you were at with that. I know different times we've talked about it, and I think it's a great idea.
I think I'm at that point now where I really enjoyed kind of branding it a little bit and enjoying it. I'm a little behind, like I said. Thank God my kids are super sharp with all the internet stuff, and I got lots of help with that. But it's time. I think that, I'd love to give everybody a shirt, and I've done a lot of that. And it's just at the point now where, it's overwhelming. So it's time to get a little website popped up. And guys like the event shirts. I want everybody to have them. So it's really, bare bones. They're $20. Excuse me. We're going to do my Chevy only hats, which I absolutely love. And last year I did a couple, I think I did 150 hats. I gave them almost all the way. We sold a few of them, but it was, at that point, it was really about that. So this year, like I said, there'll be a spot that you'll be able to buy some of the swag from.
And it's going to be ChevyOnlySwag.com?
Yeah, it'll be a Dino Chevy only.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I think I want you guys to understand this. For those of you who have emailed, Instagram, Facebooked Dino and asked for a Chevy only sticker, I guarantee he's probably giving it to you.
Oh, yeah.
I know I've rolled in here and he loads me up. I don't think he probably could do 3-4 years and sell a lot of stuff and still be in the red on this stuff because it's not cheap. Between the event shirts, the get down shirts, his Chevy only stuff, his hats, his stickers, let alone. So, good for you. Good for getting it out there. Guys will buy them. It's cool to have it on their truck. The shirts are awesome. The Problem Child logos and renderings that he does for you guys are killer. So, wrapping it up, I am so excited to be here. I'm excited to get this first Builder episode under my belt. It's nice that I can come down. This is probably a rarity. Very few of them are going to be me actually coming down to an office. This office is cool. You guys have got to see it. I'm going to take a bunch of pictures. I need to make sure I take a picture of that Chevy only sticker in that F-18. He's a stand-up dude. If you get a chance to shake his hand and give him a big hug, be careful. He might hurt you, but he is. He's a stand-up guy. I'm glad to have him as number one. It was fun. Good time, man.
Stoked. Thanks a bunch, man.
You too, buddy.
And back at you. I think what you're doing is amazing. And I wish you the most success, dude. I wish you the most success. I hope that maybe one day I come back here and I get to do this again. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it would be fun to have you on again. So from us over here at the C10 Talk, it's about that time. Those are road sodas, or like my dad used to say, barley pops. Late. Wow, that was a lot of fun. Hopefully you enjoyed that as much as I did. It was a blast hanging out with Dino. He's very super cool cat and very inviting to come in and hang out with him in his office, in his place of work. Builder episode 1 is in the books. I wanted to be around 45, 60 minutes. I didn't want to go too long, but we had so much fun. I blew right past that. So I don't know if the interviews in the future will be that long, but it was a lot of fun hanging out with Dino. Sorry about the audio. I know I had the mic between the two of us, and at times it felt like when I was listening to the audio after, you can hear the bumping and popping. That must be just kind of the desk or something where we're hitting it, and I didn't realize it. I'm going to continue to get better at this. I'm going to continue to work on clearing up all the audio so you guys will, it'll be very easy listening. Hopefully you get, you get the part of just getting to know Dino, and we're bringing that to you. We're going to be bringing you our first vendor, which is Early Classic Enterprises out of Fresno, California. So tune in next month. And if you have any questions that you want to specifically ask Early Classic or our number 2 builder, this guy is not only C10 royalty, he's he's the same thing. He's just such a great guy. I've met him a few times and really enjoyed talking to him. Looking forward to interviewing him for C10 Talk. He is none other than Renee C10 King Martinez, founder of the C10 Club. He's out of Atwater, California. We'll get to catch up with him next month and hang out. So tune in. If you have any questions specifically for Early Classic or Renee, you can email me direct at ronnie@c10talk.com. You can leave a voice recording at c10talk.com, our homepage. Those are going to be the best 2 ways, c10talk.com or Ronnie, RONNIE, at c10talk.com. One thing I want to ask is leave a review on iTunes. Let me know how we're doing. Email me, or you can leave a voice recording. If there's something specific, if there's something about this interview that you really liked, something you didn't like, let us know. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you want to see. What builders do you want to have on the show? What vendors are you thinking about? Man, I want to really get to know this part or this product. We'd be happy to reach out to these vendors and get them on the show. Let me know what you're thinking. Appreciate it. Have a great one. Take care.